The alternate title to this video is Why I Hate Georgia. If I sound weird in this video, it is because I've got a new microphone, so blame that. My name is B, or Magic. I guess this is my first ever, quote-unquote scripted, Storytime video, so don't make fun of me. I don't normally do videos like this. I mainly want to make my channel centered around video games, but the video that I'm currently editing for Overwatch is literally taking forever, and I have more things to do, like, doing my schoolwork for college, or getting ready for Anime Boston, which is in a few days, which I really should be doing, but instead I'm recording this. So anyways, I decided to do a Storytime video instead of actually working on my other video, because this will be easier to edit, and I'll just have a speed paint in the background. Before I get into the whole story, I want to say that this happened around when I was like 11, and I'm currently 18, gonna be turning 19 very soon, so it's not like I have any evidence or remember everything perfectly to a T. There's also, first ever story time. So, this one goes out to my 38 inactive subscribers. I don't know how many people are gonna watch this, probably not many. For some context, I used to do Wattpad roleplays as a child with unrestricted internet access, and, before you judge me, I actually did meet my best friend doing this, who I'm still friends with to this day. So, at least it wasn't all bad. I mostly did original character roleplays, since I was always a fan of creating my own characters and giving them really, really stupid, ridiculous storylines, which I still do to this day. Honestly, my Wattpad is still up, and I leave it public for the roleplays for nostalgia, so if you're curious, you can try to find them. I was a cringy kid and I have no shame. But I do have a different username, so good luck with that. While doing these roleplays, I met a ton of people, surprisingly a lot around my age. I know, it's really shocking that a child, didn't meet a lot of predators, but mostly just other children. The most important people in the story are 4 people, and I'm not going to be using their actual names, even though the 3 of them I don't talk to anymore, but fake names. I'll be calling my ex Jordan, and my best friend Blue Jay. He really wanted a cool fake name, so that's on him. And even though I'm not going to be mentioning them, the other 2 are going to be called Tess and Sally, because I like those names. I may still be friends with one of them on Steam, but I don't know. I'm friends with a lot of people on Steam. Now, this whole thing started when I posted on my Wattpad asking if anybody played Town of Salem. Do you guys remember that game? It was pretty popular, around the time when I was a kid. I watched a lot of, Minx, Chilled. You remember those people? I knew I was a lesbian because I always used to watch Minx. Anyways, I wanted to get a group together to play Town of Salem, because I was a lonely child. I didn't have any real-life friends. As you can imagine, these 4 people responded, and I got their Skypes. Yes, we are going back to the days of Skype. Discord didn't exist, and Skype was where you went to get on a call and play games. The horror. I can't get into my old Skype. Trust me, I tried for quite a while, and if I could, I would share so much of the cringeworthy shit on there. So much happened that, the memories. Anyways, I added the 4 of them on Skype and made a group chat, and I donned it the Salem Squad. As my friend Blue Jay so eloquently put it when I talked to him about this video, the worst thing I ever created. It was pretty normal in the beginning though. We all got on calls and played Town of Salem together quite frequently. By this time, I was actually making friends with these people, and not just being, roleplay buddies with them. The ones I was closest to were, of course, Jordan and Blue Jay, and eventually Jordan asked me out. At this point in time, I very much didn't know that I liked women, so I was very conflicted. Eventually I said yes, which led to my gay awakening and me coming out to my mom. I was crying, she was very worried, but once I told her I liked a girl, she didn't think it was that big a deal, and obviously I was overreacting. Love her for that. So, me and Jordan started to date, which just means that we as kids did everything else like normal, except we would send hearts to each other and talk about, kissing and stuff. Gross. We lived on opposite sides of the country, so that was pretty much all we could do. Everyone else in the group was fine with it, obviously, and I told my mom, because I am a good child that does not lie. And after having a couple of video calls, so my mom could be assured that they were the same age as me and not a creepy man, everything was going great. A lot of things that happened in this relationship gave reason to how I treat relationships now. For one, almost constantly Jordan would complain about their home life, how they lived with their grandma who would constantly force them into girly clothes that were revealing and, being generally emotionally abusive to them. Which, of course, made me upset because I didn't want my partner to be uncomfortable and traumatized. Along with that, they would tell me almost daily how guys in their school would be flirting with them to get me jealous. These were stated as things that simply happened, not things that made them uncomfortable, and it seemed they just purely wanted to see a reaction out of me, which, isn't a very good sign in a relationship. Of course I didn't really realize this at the time. I was stupid, and this was my first relationship, so I thought, they couldn't be doing anything bad. After a couple months of dating, my family had decided to plan a trip to Disneyland, and since Jordan lived in Georgia, I immediately thought we could go visit them. I asked my mom, she was fine with it as long as she came with me, and when I talked to Jordan about it, they loved the idea. So a couple weeks before we were planning on leaving, they suddenly told me we couldn't meet up and had a million excuses about how their grandma hadn't allowed it, and it was, whatever. I was sad, of course, but I wasn't about to argue, especially hearing from Jordan how their grandma is very controlling and emotionally abusive, and I didn't want to give them more trouble. So, I go to Disneyland with my family, and I ride Space Mountain all day because it is the best ride, and if you feel differently, you can fight me in the comments. Everything was fine, went back home, things were normal again, as normal as they could be. We were branching off and playing more video games as a group, and I was getting even closer to them. Blue Jay, who I had known the longest at that time, and I were getting close, and I considered him basically my best friend, which I still do. He's definitely one of my best friends. Shout out to you. You know who you are. Asshole, come visit me. Anyways, I don't think Jordan liked that we were all that close. Their behavior seemed to ramp up in intensity, constantly complaining and trauma dumping on me, talking about experiences where guys would hit on them, so I would get upset. It was near constant until one day they just didn't reply to any of us. For days they ghosted all of us, weren't online, and were seriously worrying the three of us. Eventually though, they came back, and of course we were upset, worried, asked what had happened to them, and what we heard back was that apparently, listen to this one. Apparently, one of their family members had kidnapped them. Yep, they got kidnapped. But it was okay, because Jordan said that they had saved them. I guess because of how terrible their grandma treated them. I'm still baffled to this day by this. Honestly, I blocked a lot of this out, but my friend Blue Jay was able to tell me more about it because this was just ridiculous. And after that, they acted as if everything was normal again. And, it's not like any of us could do anything because we were, 11, and we lived all over America, so we just kind of forgot about it and moved on. Since they got back, they talked a lot more about their depression, their trauma, and especially their self-harm to me. Thankfully, they never sent photos of it, but I would constantly be a therapist and trying to tell Jordan that everything was fine and they had so much to live for, which of course you want to do for people you care for, but mind you, I was about 11 or 12 years old at this time. I was definitely not a therapist, and I was dealing with my own troubling childhood, so I wasn't exactly the best person to come to with this. After I tried yet again to set up a visit so we could go down to Georgia and I could see them, make sure they were okay. Even though my mom agreed, it was the same thing, fine for a few days, then before we leave, it's, oh no, we can't, with a million excuses from Jordan. And so, again, I couldn't really argue, I just kind of had to take it at face value, because I was a child, there was nothing I could do, honestly. And a while after that, the straw that finally broke the camel's back was them telling us that they were being admitted to a mental hospital. Yes, their grandma, who they were apparently with now, was sending them to a mental hospital. I kid you not. You know, at the time, I was very worried. I was freaking out because I was extremely worried about them and thought terrible things were going to happen. I've never heard good things about mental hospitals, and I knew that they were in an extremely fragile state of mind. So I was, you know, understandably scared as shit. But then they messaged us and said they got out. Not even a week later. And after that, I feel like things started to, you know, reach the end point. They were getting kind of sloppy with their lies. You know, they forgot things, they claimed us, and would constantly be changing their story. It would be extremely confusing, and they would be gone for a few days, have no explanation as to why, and then come back, and it was really fucking with me. So eventually, me and my friend finally decided to, well, confront them about everything. And they pretty much broke down, admitted that they had lied about pretty much everything. No kidnapping, no emotional abuse, no mental hospital. Honestly, the fact that I believed all that shit is crazy, but here we are. Of course, I was understandably upset, and I broke up with them, and I told them I never wanted to interact with them again. They tried desperately to message me, but I had blocked them, and I was not about to talk to them at all. And I guess that upset them. It gets really funny after that, though, because Jordan went to our other two friends, who I had known long before they did, and tried to convince them everything that they were doing and lying about was actually my fault. I was lying about everything that I was saying about them, and I was actually the bad person. And somehow they managed to convince one of them. The other, thankfully, wanted to talk to me more before deciding their opinion, but yeah. Though after that, it didn't take long for the one that they convinced to realize that everything Jordan was saying was a lie, they were a terrible person, and that everybody needs to leave them. So they did that, and they talked to me about the whole thing, and realized that, you know, it was all a big lie. That's pretty much the end of the story. Since, as far as I know, me or my friend had never heard or spoke to them again, and I don't really know anything about them anymore. I hope they genuinely did get the help for whatever the hell they were going through, because I don't think that, you know, all those lies were made up by a healthy mind. And I don't know anything, so I don't know how they identify, their name. That's why for this video, I've been using they, them pronouns. And reminder to respect pronouns even if people you're talking about are terrible people. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed my art or my very odd childhood story, please consider subscribing, liking the video, or commenting. Everything helps.